Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to the Full Force News Burst live special. Well, let's talk classified leatherneck. I'm Christopher McLeod, aka Diagnostic 80, brought to you by General Joe's Reborn.com. Hope everyone's having a lovely weekend. Happy Super Bowl Sunday, is all I'll say. I'm half what like it. Okay, so obviously the family are from KC. Like Kansas City Chiefs fans. So I definitely have my, you know, my preference of winning today. So good luck to both teams. But really, sorry, there's something on my screen. But really, yeah, we hope the Kansas City Chiefs win. But anyway, earlier today as well, my football team won. Actual football, Kitty said. Soccer, yes, Manchester United got a victory. So I'm happy. Half the day so far going well. Let's see how the other half goes. Right. How is everybody this weekend? I hope everyone's having a good time. I hope everyone's having an exciting. I hope there are fans of NFL tuning in right now, even though obviously their game is pretty soon. Anyway, I am coming live to you guys today to talk about Classified Leatherneck. Yes, this is a new sort of live version of what I've been doing in the past with the edited videos. I thought, let's do them live. They're more fun. And we'll go through, basically the history of Leatherneck in the G.I. Joe brand and what we can kind of expect from his Classified series figure towards the end as well. So I hope everyone's doing well. Let's get stuck into it. It's a chunky old episode because Leatherneck's got a lot more history than you probably give him credit for. But let's go, Leatherneck. Pow! This is better than football, says Christopher Gallant. Brilliant. I'm a fan of the food and commercial, says Rexship85. Brilliant. I do. The commercials are pretty cool, or adverts, as we call them. And food is still called food in the UK, though. Semper Fi, Rob, absolutely. This is Leatherneck after all. Wendell in the house, indeed, Ed. We will talk about his name. It's an absolute beauty, isn't it? A lot of crappy figures with the Leatherneck name attached. Yeah, we'll kind of talk about that. I don't think this. It's interesting to me, not necessarily crappy, but we'll definitely get into that. Don't call me sir. I work for a living, Scott. Exactly. That's from Let's Play Soldier, isn't it? I love that episode. Oh my god. Hello everyone in the chat. Hope there's loads of people joining in. This is great. Let's get stuck into Leatherneck then. Lots to discuss in the history of this lad. But first of all, I always forget this bit. Of course, I've done this little fancy graphic, haven't I, for name only reveals. And of course, Leatherneck is right up there. So that would only leave, in terms of the Let's Talk videos, Xandar, which is nice. Just that one video to do before they drop another load of name only reveals on us. And I have to change the graphic again, and I have to do more videos. But it's all good. The more the merrier is what I say. I'm excited for Stardust 2 Tac, I've got to admit. The real question is, who is the better Marine, Gung Ho or the Leatherneck, and why is it mainframe? Rexship85 with the comment of the day so far. Yeah, I'm going to give it to mainframe. But let's get stuck into Leatherneck because we're here for Leatherneck, right? Now, Leatherneck version 1 was released in the United States in 1986 on US single card, of course, on that classic single card. Not that one. We'll get to the card in a second, I guess. Head sculpt and card. He came with a rifle and a backpack. Let's not get ahead of myself here. He came with his that kind of classic, was it M16 with M203 grenade launcher or something along those lines? It's the classic one that you see in like Predator. I think Arnie's using it, isn't he? Like I wanted this figure so bad just for the rifle, honestly. Just so I could kind of do my Predator little, play pattern that I really like playing. The movie, by the way, not the other Predator. Anyway, yeah, his head sculpt and card art likeness obviously followed that of Joe legend Ron Rudat, and we will come back to the likeness of the card art because there is an interesting theorem which I have. There might be an actual explanation behind it, but there is a sort of kind of like, well, we'll get to it shortly, but it's really interesting and it has a lot to do with the UK version of the figure. But what I would say is I always had we need a classified Arnie and an Arnie impression. What you do? Get out! Get out! There you go. 84 Rain says go Niners. Well, good luck in the game anyway. 84 Rain. I know obviously there's probably going to be 49ers fans in the chat, and there's probably going to be anti Kansas City Chiefs fans. It's totally fine. My team won today, so I'm happy. I'm halfway there. Anyway, so like I said, if you look at that card art, yes, it's classic. Yes, it's like Ron Rudat's likeness, etc., etc. But there's something about it that doesn't quite look right to me, and I've always felt this, right? And it's probably because of the UK information that we'll come to a little bit later. But like the arms and the face, and it doesn't quite look like it matches correctly. Like it might be a bit too small, the face, for the body. I don't know what you guys think about this, and this might be blasphemy to a lot of you, but it always looks a little bit not quite right. And not because of Ron, obviously. Beautiful Ron Rudat, of course. Good friends with Ron. Don't want to, I'm not besmirching his wonderful likeness, of course. But there's just an interesting vibe to the original card art, and I will unleash what I'm getting at a little bit later on. Ray says a missed paint app on the original figure caused him to have weird looking Converse type sneakers. Check the card art for how his lower legs should have looked. Still a favorite of mine though. I didn't notice that, Ray, but we'll have a look. Yes, for sure. Anyway, there you go. There's the Leatherneck V1 information for you. 1986 bad boy. Now, let's talk his file card. Wendell A. Metzger, or Metzger Wendell A. He's a Marine, of course. I'm not going to read the serial number. Infantry and drill sergeant are his specialties. Now, his grade is gunnery sergeant, which is interesting because that was something new on the file cards, I think, at that point. I think we'd had a few. I mean, we'd had like we'd had all the E's and O's and things like that, but I'm not sure if we'd had something that was as different as this to this point. We might have done. I just can't think off the top of my head. I felt like they all had pretty much normal grades, and then all of a sudden we've got gunnery sergeant. And birthplace is interesting as well. Stromsburg, Nebraska. Now, that is interesting because, for me, because of where he's born in the UK release. But anyway, Leatherneck was the hardest gunny, Kitty said, that ever slogged through the mud of Camp Lejeune. Before that, he was the toughest drill sergeant on Paris Island. Before that, because it's in italics, he was the roughest tech sergeant of the 1st Recon Battalion in Vietnam. Also, is that a typo? Shouldn't Vietnam be one word? I thought maybe that is a typo. Maybe they're just highlighting Nam. I don't know. Gunnery Sergeant is E7, I think, says Rexship 85. As does Ray Murphy. Gunnery Sergeant equals E7. Thank you guys for the extra color on that. Before that, because that's in all caps, he was the meanest corporal in Gitmo. Civilian badness just doesn't count. He is uncouth, opinionated, and overbearing, and he has no patience at all with the indecisive, the lazy, and the dishonest. Not a man you can like, but one you can trust. Recon Battalion, obviously, in the little bit at the bottom there, which is obviously in relation to the kind of like the fact they just use BN in the type at the top there. They could have gotten away. They could have gotten away with just writing battalion in the file card because it wouldn't have affected the size of the text in the file card area technically. But hey ho, they've done it anyway. It's pronounced Vietnam, like a true Vietnam vet. Absolutely, Rexship. Hey Payne, right? So there's your file card, nice and solid. Good characterization in there. He's a hard nut. You know, he's different. He's basically, you know, there's no messing with him. There's no mess. He is straight down the middle, a hardcore Marine. End of story, right? Now, Leatherneck V1 featured heavily in the 2nd series of the Sunbow cartoon, voiced by Chuck McCann, and always arguing with Wetsuit. Always. Like it was like a married couple. And I liked it because it was like the Marines versus the Navy, wasn't it? And there was like they played that up in a big way. It made it kind of fun in those episodes. Specifically, the screenshots here were from, I think, Arise to Pencil or Rise, I took them from. Because this is that part just before they go into the underwater tomb. who is in the underwater tomb? I've forgotten who it is now. But there's a tomb underwater that Destro raids, and these guys are on the surface, running interference, as it were. Classified Leatherneck is the figure I've been waiting for, says Kevin Mail. Yeah, dude, I'm same. I'm a big fan of obviously the cartoon, so I'm really excited to see, this character go into the Classified series. You jarhead. I hate to interrupt such sophisticated repartee. Brilliant. Oh, Alexander. Thank you very much, Leon. It was Alexander, wasn't it? The name Vietnam, literally Viet South, means Viet of the South per Vietnamese word order of South of the Viet per classical Chinese word order. Thank you, Ed. So it can be separated like that, I guess. What is interesting though is, well, we'll see a little bit later on. I keep trying to jump the gun a little bit. Landlubber organization, brilliant. Anyway, so yes, always fighting, and I loved it. I thought it was really good characterization for the two of them, especially in my favorite things. I think it was when Leatherneck gets a dart through his backpack. He goes all the way through his backpack and catches him in the back, and he gets poisoned by Serpentor. And so Lifeline tells Wetsuit the only way they can save him is if they get a good amount of his blood, Serpentor's blood. And in the end, he gets it from, I think he kind of makes the what do you call it? He makes Serpentor's pet bite him on the arm so that he can drain the poison from the bandage around his arm and save Leatherneck, basically, or save both of them. Anyway, really good thing. Chuck McCann did the thing too. Interesting. Yeah, Chuck McCann, his voice is amazing, isn't it, for Leatherneck? Absolutely. It made that real raspy, deep, kind of Leatherneck. I loved it. I thought it was great. Anyway, that's Leatherneck in the cartoon. Now, Leatherneck in the comics, his first comic appearance is in A Real American Hero issue 49, as you can see below. That's under the text. You can see him just to the right of the image in that little panel there. But it's issue 50 to the right-hand side there, where he leads an assault team to take back the town of Springfield in the Battle of Springfield, right there in the right-hand side. And it's interesting because I think in one panel in 49 or 50, it's one of the issues, one panel, it looks like he's reading out the names of the characters that, he's reading out the name of the team as they're sitting in the Tomahawks or whatever vehicles they're in at that time. And he's like doing the roll call, but the roll call says Leatherneck, but the character that's sitting down, it effectively is Gung Ho. It's like they've painted them wrong, but they've also given him a vest too. So it effectively looks like Gung Ho, which is funny. Not on any of these panels. That I didn't have the foresight to put that panel up because I'm an idiot. But anyway, Wilfredo says, I missed the beginning of today's show, but caught the last part of the show. Can't wait to see Leatherneck in classified form. Well, we're only a few minutes in, so you're not really missing much at the moment. In any case, that is, and then Leatherneck obviously appears then in A Real American Hero, in and out for, kind of like, not in like a major way. He's kind of like almost a bit of background fodder for the most part, but he does make appearances throughout the comics series at that point. And he has been utilized in issues going forward as well, like in, the modern kind of iteration of Real American Hero. IDW is kind of ongoing. He's popped up at time, every now and again, basically. But yeah, they never really gave him a personality or voice for the comics. It's kind of true, honestly, for it in that sense. He's always been a little bit of a background character in the comics. Right. Really hoping when they do Wetsuit, we get an unmasked head with that marvelous curly hair. Scott, I agree with you. I really think they need to do that with Wetsuit. Anywho, moving on. Now, he was released in 1988 for the UK and Europe. As you can see, this is the Action Force International Heroes card back. You can see on the front of the card as well. Bear in mind, look very carefully at the card art here. It is the classic Ron Rudat likeness, as you all recognize it. I bet a few of you are wondering where I'm going with this, but some of you might already know where I'm going with this. So it was the same figure and accessories as the US release, but had a heavily edited file card. The character was now born in West Germany, and a number of the place names mentioned in the US file card were changed to places in Germany. There's your figure, exactly the same figure, same accessories. Really good. Actually, it's a really underrated figure, this one, for me. I love this original O-ring Leatherneck figure, and I'm really happy that he's coming in the, Kitty said, in the Sergeant Slaughter Triple T situation, as we've seen the leaked listings of that. So it's nice that we're getting a Leatherneck O-ring figure very soon. Even if it's not with Super 7, you know, we're getting one with Hasbro, which is pretty cool. Anyway, moving forward, this is the file card. Now, this is where it all comes tumbling down. Look at that artwork. This is on the back of the Action Force card back, which, as you've just seen, has Ron Rudat's likeness on it. That isn't Ron Rudat's likeness. That, to me, and correct me if I'm wrong here, guys, looks like it might have been the original drawing for Leatherneck. Like, this is what I think the original Leatherneck artwork was. And at some point during the process, they wanted Ron's likeness on the figure. And so they got it on the actual action figure. Ron's likeness is on it. So they wanted to actually maybe do the artwork for the file card as well, for the artwork, proper for the card. And they had to paint over it or add it over the top, or maybe even like the transparencies kind of job. So they paint Ron's likeness and then do a transparency kind of cover on it, right? Isn't that crazy cool? I have never noticed this until I did the research for it. It's never one of those things that came up in conversation or ever was mentioned, that the art on the front was different to the art on the back. And what is even cooler is we do get this artwork appearing again in the future. Now, I have done this, yeah? So you can see that the artwork is effectively identical, right? Apart from where Ron's face kind of takes over. The hair at the back is slightly longer on Ron's as well. It kind of like encroaches a little bit more over the ear, but I think that was really just to cover some of the ear up on there. But the hat's exactly the same. The rest of even the shadow under his neck is the same shape, by the way. And if you go onto Ron's one, they've kind of colored it in a little bit, or filled it in a little bit more, but it's effectively the exact same shape. So it's really interesting there that we've got this. And I just wanted to kind of show you that just to see if anyone was aware of it. In Germany, he would be Ledernacken. Yes, he would be, Leon, absolutely. They actually gave Wetsuit his right head and hair in the Built to Rule line correctly, and they did. Yes, Jamie Lynn, not seen that before. Leatherneck looks like he got a bad moustache trim and now he's mad about it, says Ray. He kind of does. Kevin says very interesting. Yeah, absolutely. Never noticed it before, says Leon. It's gung-ho with a wig, says Ray. It does feel that way, doesn't it, when you look at Ron's? But anyway, maybe it was original concept art before updating it to Ron's likeness. John, that's what we assume is the case. We think not concept art, but the art that was done for Leatherneck. We think this is the art that was done for Leatherneck, right? And then, as you know, it's done. But then at that point, they would make that they make that distinction that they want to put Ron's likeness on it. They tell the guys, for the Action Force Hasbro UK, they explain that. They send over the transparency. It's done on the front of the card, but they don't pay attention to the back of the card. Either it's forgotten, missed, or they just didn't care. They're like, well, we can't get it to work properly or whatever, so we'll just do it on the front and hope nobody notices. So maybe there's something along those lines going on there as well. But effectively, they changed it on the front of the card, but not on the back of the card. And I think that is wicked. Anyway, let's look at the actual file card itself as well. It's still Wendell A. Metzger, so he's still got that name. Still infantry, still a drill sergeant, same serial number, still a Marine. Still gunnery sergeant, but now he's born in Berchtesgaden in West Germany, right? Now, it says Leatherneck was the hardest gunny that ever slogged through the mud of Camp Nuremberg, so that's changed. Before that, he was the toughest drill sergeant in Hanover, which is near to where I was born. Before that, in italicized as well, he was the roughest tech sergeant of the 1st Recon Battalion in Vietnam, now spelt Vietnam, one word. Again, not sure if that's they just did that because they thought it was a spelling error or whatever. Before that, in caps, obviously, he was the meanest corporal in Saarbrücken. Civilian badness just doesn't count. So a lot of different changes there in the card. The bottom part hasn't changed at all. That's still the same. And they've still done they've carried over the battalion explanation, even though they BN'd it at the top. So they've carried that over as well from the original card. And of course, it says Action Force. It doesn't say G.I. Joe. and it's an ever so slightly different grey color. But look at that. Look at that artwork change. I love that I did this because it really does show the comparison, and it shows his head just plopped on there basically. But yeah, really interesting, isn't it? I love it. Anyway, what is interesting is that different file card art was also used for his collector card, and he featured the actual character featured on the cover of the collector card album. You can see him there on the underneath the text there. You can see him shooting into the ether with Snake Eyes behind him. And of course, you can see that card art again replicated on the collector card, which I do have. And that was like, I think that's why I always felt that Ron's art was a bit off, because I had the personnel file, I had the collector card album, I had all the cards and filled it out. I even had another set of cards because I'd collected so many of them. Leatherneck was the art that I recognized of Leatherneck, which was really interesting. And I must say, this art does like really look more like the Sunbow animation, doesn't it, than the card art does. In any case, I always thought that was really interesting, honestly. Even if you guys don't, I've had such a blast finding that again and seeing it and kind of going, oh wow. But really cool, yeah. So, and I love that the collector card album is amazing. I bought one recently, about 3 years ago now, off Matt Paul. Shout out to Matt Paul in the UK. I'm pretty sure I bought one off him, as well as a couple of other bits and pieces. And it was a full filled out one. He had it, and I wanted it again, and I wanted it in the US because my other one's in the UK, and he sent it to me, and yeah, it's brilliant. Love it. So Ed, oh, okay, sorry, I've missed a few. Love Ron Rudat, but I don't want the Classified to look like that. Should look like the Action Force one. Well, they're not doing likenesses, are they? Unless it's someone like, the Sarge, for example. Coming in late, what I miss? I'm not starting again, Jedi Ben. Peppermint Oil Capsule says, Ich habe einen dicken Warte. I don't know. I should have thought about what you're saying there. That's absolutely mental. The finished art looks so stylistically different from the rest of the line. It almost looks photo real, says Ed. That's a good point, and probably why it stands out, actually, because yeah, it does have that photorealistic look to it. Maybe they had a different artist do it as well. Maybe it was like Greedo did the Leatherneck art, and then someone else did the Ron Rudat art, possibly, and maybe that's why it kind of stands out a little bit. They tried to copy it, but couldn't quite get it, to kind of look as like sketch drawn cartoon as that one. Like Leatherneck, there's definitely like a for the Ron Rudat one, there's definitely a more photorealistic look. Absolutely. Will he get to the chopper? Indeed. So the Action Force Leatherneck was trained completely in Germany and is just a US Marine still. I know, it's amazing, isn't it? On that one, the US had bases in Germany for a long time, didn't they? They did. The US have had bases all over the place. They still have them in the UK, I believe, and they probably still have them in Germany. Wait, he was from Berchtesgaden, as in the site of probably, the Eagle's Nest. That's an odd choice. Well, they were just grabbing the famous places, Ryan, 100%. Maybe that's why. And also, what is that? Oh, we'll get to it later on, but there's another connection to that. Yeah, there's another slight connection to that later on, which we'll get to. I still have that Action Force card book, Peppermint Oil Capsule says. Yes. And also, Ryan, I'll probably say as well, in terms of the Hitler's Eagle's Nest thing, it wasn't, I mean, they were kind of utilizing a lot of things from Germany in the Action Force line, because that was stuff that kind of made sense. Like we could relate to it as kids, or not as kids, but as the UK, a lot of things, it was things that we'd heard of, places that we knew. In terms of a lot of the American places, we just hadn't got that connection to or heard of them. So I think that was really the reason for that one, honestly. The OG card art should always be the start of the design process for me. OG card art should always be the start of the design process for me. Okay. The job they did with Mutt face isn't too far away from what I want for Leatherneck. Yeah, that's true. That the Mutt's got that kind of vibe. I think Leatherneck probably needs a more kind of relaxed face. Not relaxed, but not as like, like open mouthed and so on and so forth. Wilfredo, I lived in Germany for a few years. Beautiful country and nice people there. what you read was I have a fat father. I thought I recognized it. Also, Wilfredo, I was born in Germany. I was born in Rinteln in West Germany. My dad was in the Royal Air Force, so I ended up being born in an army hospital in Rinteln, which was in West Germany at the time, of course, when it was East and West. And apparently it was horrible. Like Mum said, there were like, you know, cockroaches and rats, and the lighting was really dark. It was horrible. She said she said she's, you know, popped me out and that was it. Let's go. Let's bounce. Anyway, shout out to my mom who had to put up with that. But anyway, yeah. Another interesting hospital memory I have in relation to my parents. I went into the Norfolk and Norwich hospital I had pneumonia. And I remember my dad was called back from exercise when he was in the RAF to you know, he had to come back from exercise, and he was in his full fatigues and you know, everything, all the gear basically. And he turns up and he comes in like looking like G.I. Joe. And I was kind of like that. I always have that memory of my dad turning up when I was a little lad. I was only 7, I think, when I had pneumonia. It was rough, man. Real rough. Viral pneumonia as a 7-year-old. Apparently I nearly died. I don't remember much of it. I just remember this horrible thing in the morning. I'd be woken up at 6 in the morning by the nurse on call at the time, and she would have to give me this kind of really rough back massage thing. She'd but like not a massage, but like almost like, you know, pat on the back to get all of the stuff off my lungs. It was rough. I hated that, but I remember it. I also remember when I was in hospital for pneumonia. This is a massive tangent, I'm sorry, but I ended up mum was staying at the hospital at the time, and she'd sleep on a little mattress on the floor next to my bed, and she bought me Spider-Man comics. I remember her getting me a Punisher comic as well, which is really cool. It was that Punisher Marvel UK Punisher cover where he's like up against the back of the wall, and I think like there are kind of like a biker gang, like Hell's Angels, to like the side, like kind of like almost like that eels up inside cover from issue 2 of Action Force, where he's up against the wall and Snake Eyes and Scarlet coming around the corner. Very similar to that. But yeah, I was a military brat, Michael. Yeah, 100%. And I was getting loads of things bought for me because I was obviously like on, you know, in a bad way. And I remember getting Thundercats toys. I remember getting the Rambo M60 machine gun, modular M60 machine gun, which was amazing. I recently, after that, so the Rambo let's talk about the M60 another time because I'll be getting into a massive tangent here. Anyway, yes, I went to hospital for pneumonia. Any new 118 news, says WJ. We're not really talking about that. We're talking about, let's talk Classified Leatherneck at the moment. Yeah, US have got bases everywhere pretty much. I would actually like a barking Leatherneck face. Get the drill sergeant feel. Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I wouldn't mind maybe something similar to the one we're seeing on screen at the moment on that on his collector card. My dad was born in Heidelberg at a US base. Cool, Captain K. Nice one. We lived between 3 RAF bases with US Air Force personnel, and my dad often went to German bases for training. That's interesting as well, Peppermint Oil Capsule. Are the 3 RAF bases, Mildenhall, like Lakenheath, those ones? Coltershall. Coltershall isn't there anymore, is it? That was the one that Dad was stationed at when we moved to Norfolk in the UK. And then where was he after that? There's so many, and I always forget their names. I've got a few good friends that have done, you know, stints at all sorts of different RAF bases. The US Air Force ones, though, for me are like Mildenhall and Lakenheath. I always remember those. Woodbridge. Oh, nice. Action Force was conceived to be a European brand in Palatoy era. I guess they kept that ethos into the American era. They did, Leon. Yeah, it just carried on throughout that first 87, 88, even 89. And then when they changed G.I. Joe, the Action Force, that's when they still sort of kept a few little bits and pieces here and there. I want to say that the G.I. Joe, the Action Force, Tiger Force characters all had different birthplaces. as well. So it kind of continued a little bit, and then it went full GI Joe, and everything was, they didn't change a thing after that really. Sounds like you briefly went to the slaughterhouse for hospital. It did feel like that actually. Wreckship 85. Leon Jarmo says that UK Punisher run was amazing. Came out roughly the same time as Action Force Monthly. Yes, Leon, it was great, wasn't it? I can't remember which issue number was. Maybe issue 4 that I had. But I love that issue, and I love that cover where he's like up against the wall, like looking, and the Hell's Angels around the corner. It's really cool. I had the Marvel UK Punisher run too. Parallel lives just a few miles from each other. I know, it's so crazy, isn't it? Woodbridge, yes, Peppermint Oil Capsule, brilliant. And Lakenheath, yes, of course, I knew that very well. I know Lakenheath very well. I had friends that were stationed there. Lakenheath and Mildenhall. Which one's got the Taco Bell? One of them's got a Taco Bell, and I remember I ended up going there and just getting addicted to Taco Bell, because it was like, we didn't have one outside of the Air Force Base, obviously. But it was effectively US soil, so they could have, they did as many US things for the US troops there as possible. And I even loved going there for the BX, is it? Where you get all like the sneakers, all like the new Jordans and stuff. Amazing. How does it feel since you're a Brit and they have added Action Force characters to Reaction? Love it, W. Absolutely love it. And I'm really excited to see more of that stuff in the O-Ring line going forward now. Like, we've even had an Ultimate Red Jackal. I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, isn't it, at the moment? The Super Bowl of repaints is here. Hello, Stygian 360. My favorite Leatherneck wetsuit episode as a kid was Once Upon a Joe. 84 Rain, good shout. Mine was... Now, my favorite Leatherneck episode is Let's Play Soldier. My favorite Leatherneck and wetsuit episode is My Favorite Things. And my favorite wetsuit episode is probably My Favorite Things as well. Was there American toys available at the base PX, says Ray? Not that I can remember, because I was probably in my 20s when I was visiting the base at that point. 20s going into, yeah, almost my entire 20s. I had friends on base. But I don't remember any toys there. I just remember like being like loads of clothes, it being really messy, and the sneakers section was it wasn't like a really old-fashioned UK department store. That's how it was built like. But obviously the stuff in there was American stuff, so there was like loads of cool stuff. But and it was really awesome because the guys that I knew there, they would have stuff sent to them from the US, like huge boxes of stuff, because it was cheaper to send to them, and they would just get like, you know, all their home goodness, you know, like sweets, like candy, food, magazines, all sorts of stuff. They'd get like huge, you know, boxes sent to them. I love the scene with Lifeline giving wetsuit a dressing down. Yeah, which one was that? Was that the one where they get the Lifeline, Dial Tone, and Shipwreck get promoted because Cobra have got into the computer system? I think that's the one that one is. That was a good one. Taco Bell is Lakenheath. The Galaxy Bar was on Mildenhall. Used to watch the SR-71 on the way to school. That's amazing. Peppermint Oil Capsule. Hello, Tony's Figs. Those early years of G.I. Joe, my family and I was stationed in Landstuhl, Germany, 83 to 87. This has gone on a massive tangent. I really love it, though. We stayed off base and 3 high-rise buildings, apartments. 2 were US, 1 was British. That's cool, White Vegeta. That's really cool. Most dangerous thing in the world. Thank you, Leon. That's the episode name. Anyway, let's move on. Leatherneck version 2, then. Same year, by the way, 1986, that we get a repaint of the figure. So, you know, Hasbro were doing this, like, you know, way before Classified came into existence. He was repainted in a tan deco for the Toys R Us exclusive Special Mission Brazil box set. And there's the box set with the tape. And there is obviously tan Leatherneck. I do love this figure. I love this repaint. It's a beautiful repaint, really well done, and still lots of interesting deco hits and stuff. Well, you know, you got the light tan all over there. You got the kind of Again, you got the two-tone vest, which is really good touch, and then you still got the green backpack. They didn't change the backpack; that stayed the same color, so that's interesting as well. Anyway, the set also featured a tan version painted over the original artwork on the file card. But can you spot the mistake? I'll wait. Can you spot the mistake on the file card art? Oh, hated these color schemes as a kid and didn't feel like I missed out. Now I absolutely need it for Classified. Brilliant. Nice one, Leon. Did any of your parents watch Action Force G.I. Joe with you? Yes, WJ. My mom would love it. My mom loved the cartoon. Didn't have much choice for the most part because it was always on. Dad used to watch it as well if he was kind of like if he was there. Like, not saying he was absent. My dad was, obviously in the RAF at the time, but if they were home and I was watching it on the TV, yeah, they'd have to watch it as well. But no, they caught a lot of it. My mum especially, she really loved G.I. Joe cartoon or Action Force. She loved all of that stuff. She loved the action figures. She thought they were really fun. Dad enjoyed it for the military aspect and like looking at, like when I get excited to get a new figure, I'd talk with him about it and ask him questions about stuff. But yeah, Dad loved it for that aspect, and Mum loved it for the cartoon and the stuff, all the toys and everything. The Mission Brazil set is incredible, says Death Valley Machine. It really is. There are people out there that don't know what a tape is. I know RKW. That audio cassette is so awesome as well. It's so crap. And the other side is you can record your own mission on it. How cool is that? I love that aspect to G.I. Joe. Yes, guys, you've all got it. He's got that little green bit of the arm was missing. They forgot to paint over that bit of green on the file card art there. Obviously, there was no kind of full art for Leatherneck. So what I must add, and I got this from Carson's books as well, is their Leatherneck art was painted over, but only on that little tiny segment. So there is Leatherneck artwork that features that tiny segment painted over, and the rest of it is in the green. Isn't that sad, but quite cool at the same time? So that artwork exists in the in the Hasbro archives. Isn't that fun? There's loads of fun, intricate, historic details to the Leatherneck history. I love it. It's so much fun. Military Dad, yep. Oh man, Special Mission Brazil. Who else wants a classified Claymore? Yes, please. I want a classified blooming was it Rumbler and Footloose first. My mum refused to believe Sonny Crockett would lend his voice to an Acting Force video. Did she really? That's hilarious. No, my mum loved the cartoon. Wetsuit can't be too far behind. Absolutely. Brother-in-law is retired Chair Force, and I'm med discharged from Army. That's interesting, W. Do you mean Air Force, or were you just being funny on that one? I can't tell. Mum introduced me to MacGyver by saying he was like a one-man action force. I loved that. MacGyver was a big favourite in the household as well. Loved watching MacGyver. Loved the A-Team. Loved all of that stuff, honestly. It was great. Paul Sidaway says, I'm a little behind. Sorry, I think it's funny to think they changed the birthplaces. Yes, to make them more familiar. I think a lot of US release birthplaces are unknown to Americans. Yes, Paul, 100%. The UK file cards, we covered a lot of that just previously, so you'll have to watch the catch up. We go into a lot of detail with that one, actually. I wouldn't mind a classified listen and fun tripwire. Oh, who wouldn't, Kevin? That'd be great. Anyway, that's Leatherneck V2 and the discrepancy in his artwork there. Let's move on to 1993 now and Battlecore Cardback Leatherneck version 3. Numbered number 11. They were all numbered, the Battlecore figures. You can see his number just under his name on the card there. Anyway, wicked new card art, by the way. I've got to admit, I love this new card art. I thought it was really cool and dynamic and fun. I love that. It's interesting that they changed his hat, though. I figured you'd have like, I'm trying to. There's another one that has like a baseball hat, isn't there? Outback. Outback would make more sense with a hat like this, and then you could give like Leatherneck a more marine style cover, I guess. But I don't know. It's still pretty cool. It's still pretty dope. Non-sequitur. Anyone here watch Parks and Wildlife? I got some of their reaction figures so I can have some civilians walking around. That's a good idea, W. I like that. MacGyver could make a breaching charge out of a potato. He could. I used to like really enjoy those scenes because MacGyver did it and the A team did it when they would be stuck in a oh, let's leave the A team, let's lock them in this garage with a car that's actually almost nearly there and welding equipment. Yeah, let's do that. Military humor. Oh, military humor. ICW. I wasn't sure if it was a what's the word? Typo. So chair force, you meant that. I like it. Battlecall leatherneck pants feel like an homage to SM Brazil's Claymore. Actually, that's not a bad shout. That's not a bad shout. I just see them as giraffe camo, and of course, now famous giraffe camo deco was used for this version of leatherneck on his pants / trousers. See, I've used both there. 93 was my first leatherneck, says Michael. Awesome. Anyone ever make a 118 MacGyver? I have seen one. I think it was LaCroix's Toys, maybe. I want to shout out LaCroix's Toys for doing an O-ring version of MacGyver. I might be wrong, but he's done every other one. It's amazing. His 118 customs are beautiful. Or one, yeah, they're 3 3/4, I should say. They're like O-ring figures. There was a 118 MacGyver with a Jeep, I think. Oh, that's cool. Anyway, Geo Declassified says Lecor. Was that the name of the company, or have I just have I missed something? As with most figures in that period, he came with a weapons sprue with a number of previously released rifles, a handgun, knife, and firing rocket launcher. Just to show you some of those. As you can see, that I think that was, I can't remember who had that. Who had that rifle? One of the Battle Force 2000, wasn't it? Wasn't it? I can't remember who it was who had that, but someone did. Someone will remind me in the comments, or it'll be something completely different. But I remember, I recognize it. Here he is with his working missile launcher as well. And Carson has recreated the card art on this image as well, which is a nice one. Love it. Love the pants. Love the idea. Now, I don't think we'll see this in Classified anytime soon, or not yet anyway. But I believe we'll, there might be something in the offing with like a version 2 of Leatherneck in the future. But like, I think if I would like, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit here, but I could see them doing version 1 and version 2, and then version 3 would have to be a new build. So yeah, wouldn't necessarily be a repaint as such. But anyway, that's Leatherneck version 3. His file card changed ever so slightly. Now he is the brawler driver as his secondary specialty. He's a Marine drill sergeant and he's a brawler driver. Still born in the same place, and most of the other stuff stayed the same, apart from obviously the call out of what he's got on him in his file card art, his artwork. So yeah, infantry training specialist is an interesting kind of like specialty to give him when he is a Marine, and a drill sergeant still. That's his primary. But anyway, that's what he's given. And now he's grade E7, so they changed that as well. And we know now that E7 does mean that, so you guys were right, or someone's made a mistake somewhere. But also, this was something that was happening in this time period where vehicles came with no vehicle driver. They would assign a vehicle driver in a file card somewhere on a single carded figure, and it was a nice marketing kind of move where they felt like, oh mate, well, we don't have a figure with this vehicle, so let's just make it so that if they do buy the figure they need the vehicle, or if they do buy the vehicle they're going to need the figure. So that was a good way of kind of doing that, and again, straight out of the Marketing 101 book, I believe. Yeah, they have Claymore and Leatherneck have very similar under trousers. I mean, regular trousers. If Leatherneck's weapons were that big, what the hell was Bazooka carrying? Exactly. Shout out to Rain Tony, says Death Valley Machine. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, sorry. Just trying to... I don't want to miss any kind of like, questions or anything like that. I feel Lenny would try to pack in stupidly big weapons as an homage to Battle Force. I don't think he will. Anyway. Anywho, that is Leatherneck version 3. Now... we move into a very interesting, weird area. And I've got lots to talk about here. So before you go crazy in the comments on this one, Shuggy. Sorry, Al Vega said it. I wanted to say it out loud. Shuggy. Now, this was interesting. The Real American Hero Collection. 2-pack, Gung Ho and Leatherneck. Kind of makes sense, like Marine 2-pack, I get it. Gung Ho utilized his, very, like, pretty solid gung-ho version, whatever it was, 3 or 4 or 5, whatever it was, from previously. And I kind of like that gung-ho mold, by the way. I like that version of him. I thought he was really cool with the headband and the flag and all that. I thought it was really dope. But this was a weird one. So he also came packaged as well. This figure, it's exactly the same figure. Let's look at it. He came, well, in a second. He came with as the driver for the Mobile Command Center in 2003 as well. So this figure released twice, 2-pack with Gung Ho and once for the Mobile Command Center G.I. Joe versus Cobra set, right? The figure was a kit bash using a number of parts available at the time, like a bit of Duke, a bit of Lifeline, I think, a bit of other characters. Completely new, but massively generic look, and something that did not scream Leatherneck to me in any way, shape, or form. And I believe it was because it was just what they had to work with at the time in terms of what's the word? Trademark names, and what they had available to them in all sorts of capacities, and it was really just thrown together, honestly. Now you end up with this figure, right, which is very bland, very like not Leatherneck at all, and really didn't buzz my berries, is what I'm saying. And the fact that it didn't really resemble Leatherneck in any way, shape, or form, look younger, different hairstyle, completely. It's a different character at the end of the day. I don't think that this one should be called Leatherneck, honestly. It's really, really weird. Did Thomas Wheeler have a part on the file card write-ups? David Lane and Thomas Wheeler were writing them at that stage, Ed. Yes, they were doing a lot of file cards for this kind of stuff, and they also, obviously, for the club too, did. But anyway, yeah, very generic, honestly, this one. Then we get in, and I'm zipping through because it's connected to this one as well. So then Leatherneck version 5 in the Valor versus Venom line comes out 2004 with the defense mech, completely new mold, but it followed the previous version's design, clean shaven, rather generic overall aesthetic. Now this is where I'm getting to. Like, there's the figure, right? Now someone's going to have to call me out on this one because I haven't properly done the research. I just looked at the dates and of when they came out. But Avatar came out 5 years after this mech and this design, this figure design. This mech, this friggin' mech and this figure design. And then we get Colonel Miles Quaritch and the mech that he's in like 5 years later. If there has ever been a more obvious inspiration for a character design and mechs, then it's 5 years of development from here to here, is what I'm saying. Now, I get that Avatar was one of those movies that was in development for a long time. It was a huge, like, it was a long time in the making, right? But realistically, the design for and how like some of the characters were designed in that movie, do you guys think there might be some sort of like, oh yeah, this is a good, I mean, look, it just looks to me like Avatar, effectively. Like, this figure is effectively Colonel Miles Quaritch, basically. Like, the same, he's even got the kind of like the vest over the undershirt vest, so he's completely sleeveless in Seattle. And then, like, I mean, I know it's a bit generic military, but the colonel doesn't strike me as like in if you were to say like the colonel in a film, I wouldn't immediately think sleeveless. I wouldn't think he's rocking a vest all the time. They went with that vibe, obviously, and it's cool and it works really well, and he's a really good villain. But it really does make me laugh that this figure was out 5 years prior to Avatar coming out. If I'm right in my thought process here, it just feels like this was a huge inspiration for that character. And I could be wrong. Maybe G.I. Joe were taking inspiration from something else prior to this that Avatar might have been taking inspiration from as well. But it just seems like, I don't know. Leon thinks it's a coincidence. I think it's really tight. I think it's really close. And I think it's something that's like quite interesting. But anyway, and even the hair's the same bloody color, Leon. The hair is the same color. That kind of like beige gray. That isn't even a hair color. I'm with you, Leon, though. I think it is a coincidence. I'm really just being tongue-in-cheek here and joking a little bit. But it's still pretty cool. And I just keep thinking this Leatherneck journey I went on for this history background before we've even 50 minutes in and we haven't talked Classified yet. But like, you know, this little like journey I went on just kept coming up with these little gems. And this is a gem for me. Like it's Quaritch 100%. But I love it, and I love the fact I love the battle techs and the mech armors and all that kind of stuff, and I love the fact that it carried on into like, you know, the modern 4-inch era. You know, we even sort of had it in the, you know, the Star Brigade and stuff. We had it there with mech suits and stuff. So like, I like that addition, and I love mechs when they do them. And I genuinely, I would love a mech in the Classified series. Is where I'm going here with this, guys, as well. I'd love mech in the Classified series, and I think you could do some beautiful mechs in what do you call it? What's the word? In the Classified scale as retail. I think that would be like a figure vehicle absolute banger. And there are so many figures that came with mechs in the modern 4-inch line too. In fact, what was that really cool one that I took loads of pictures of? Had like a it was like a crimson, it was like a Cobra mech in black, I think, and it had some sort of like new Cobra driver, and I forget the name of it now, but it's really awesome. Anyway, anywho, love that kind of aspect of version 5 of Leatherneck, and also the fact that it drew from the previous version a little bit, clean shaven, you know, like kind of, you know, I call it the Marine haircut as well, because effectively, you know, that's what Leatherneck is as well. But you know, I feel that little, I don't think it's Leatherneck unless he has that little bit of straggly hair sticking out the back of his hat. You know what I mean? It just feels more Leatherneck, the one they did in the vintage era. Anyway, let's move on to Sigma 6, not version 6, although it sort of would be, wouldn't it? Yeah, because it's version 5 going into Sigma 6. That's interesting. So in 2007, no, in 2007, Leatherneck was released as a Sigma 6 figure in the Combat Squad subset. What would have been great here is if they'd given him the scars across his face like Quaritch, right? But that would have been too much of a, that would have been too much on the nose. Completely new design and new take. Let's have a look at him. There he is, out of package. And of course, I'm a big fan of Sigma 6. I know I jokingly rip it out of Justin Bell, who is a huge Sigma 6 fan. But I loved it. I had a great time in that period, in that era. So I'm all for it, and I think they did some amazing things in it. It's not everyone's cup of tea, but you know, it stands alone. It doesn't, you know, it's not overbearing, doesn't take over anything. It doesn't continue a continuity. It's its own thing, and it stands alone, and it can be what it is. And I think that's why people kind of like, you know, that you kind of love it, or I don't know if it's a love it or hate it vibe. I don't know if many people, like, I'm sure there are people that hate it, but it's not one of those ones that is like hugely derided in the fandom that I've seen from my personal experience. I feel like the cartoon is one of those ones that people don't really like, and I'm not a massive fan of it. It's a bit hard work, but I think the toy line was brilliant. Loads of great things. They were well ahead of their time. The packaging turning into, you know, actual containers for weapons and stuff, like the plastic tubs either side. We can see it there. Look, the bottom and the top. When you take those off, they would connect together and create like a weapons locker. Just brilliant stuff like that. Really loved it. And again, some brilliant designs, some brilliant additions to the line, and really enjoyed it. Now, completely new take. He does actually come with this removable soft goods vest, which is kind of cool, and a gas mask as well. So that it was Leatherneck Sigma 6. And again, this is one, like I say, I'm not like, I like Sigma 6. I'm a fan of it, and I like some of the things they did in it. So yeah. I wouldn't mind mechs, but I'd like to see Hotwire and Ghost Bear. Oh, hell yeah, Rachel. There's some apps, like, yeah, Ghost Bear as well. I love Ghost Bear as a character because it's so like foreign, you know, variation sort of kind of vibe. Yeah, I love the thought of Ghost Bear as well. And Hotwire, yeah, or bat mechanic, 100%, all down for it all day long. Are you talking about the Ghost Bear when you were referring to that Cobra mech? I was talking about Ghost Bear for Rachel was talking about it. Anyway, Leatherneck version 6, actual version 6 of Leatherneck, the first modern 4-inch inclusion came out in 2008 for the 25th anniversary, packaged as the driver for the Ore Striker in a desert tan deco, homaging his Mission Brazil release from 1986. There's the Ore Striker box as well. I kind of like this era of G.I. Joe. I really enjoyed the 25th anniversary and what it kind of grew into. Yes, there was a lot of shortcomings in some of the figure design, but that was the thing. You're learning as you're creating this stuff, and then you're getting things like, Rise of Cobra, which improved on a lot of aspects of 25th, and then of course Pursuit of Cobra, which took it to another level. 30th anniversary, which continued that run, and Retaliation, which continued that level of quality in the 4-inch line. I 100% loved all this stuff, and really liked some of the packaging, and loved the fact that you had these little dio backgrounds that would come with the vehicle figures. And this was another one that I really enjoyed because it gave us tan deco Leatherneck before we got Leatherneck, which again was funny because we don't get Leatherneck, a proper green Leatherneck, for the longest time in the modern 4-inch line. And I don't know why we were waiting for so long. But anyway, not so long. It wasn't that long, but it was a bit interesting. Yes, this version of the figure is a bit janky. I will give you that. Gung Ho's head usage. So Gung Ho version 18 head was used, which does take something away from the character a little bit. It doesn't 100% scream Leatherneck to me. I mean, it does and it doesn't. And I'm not saying that it screams Gung Ho to me, because it doesn't scream Gung Ho either. Actually, do you know what it screams to me? It screams to me Sergeant Slaughter's taking his shades off and dressed like Leatherneck is what that Fed sculpt looks like Sergeant Slaughter to me. So that's what I would say with that one. But yeah, that's V6. And I just have to show the artwork on the side because I think this is so funny. It's actually not bad, but the pose kind of makes him a little bit funny. It almost looks like French Foreign Legion kind of a uniform as well. He even facially looks a bit French Foreign Legion from that era as well, back in like whenever it was, like the 30s and 40s and 50s or wherever it would have been. But anyway, yes, the dreaded Duke arms, Ray. Yes, that's another big problem. Not a fan of the arms, but again, the artwork's really funny. And I had to put it in there because I thought it was quite, a bit Castro, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. Then we get version 7, right? Which you'd think they might, maybe, I know it's Rise of Cobra, but you'd think they might do something like, let's do Leatherneck regular version 1 to, cover that base. Nope. They went with this really dark kind of deco. Anyway, he's a repaint of version 6, came with the Tiger Claw ATV in 2011 for the Rise of Cobra line, suffered from the product delay as well, and was supposed to be released in 2010, but only made it to some shelves in Canada at that time, and then ended up in Ross and secondary retailer stores in like the following year, basically. So yeah, this is like a Night Force Leatherneck, isn't it? Maybe that's a possible repaint that I didn't really consider. But that's something we can talk about now, Figure 6 Pack. Let's put this in the possibility of repaints for Leatherneck in the Classified series as a possible Night Force inclusion, because I think that's a good shout, honestly. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, let's move on to version 8. Now, this is where we finally get, in 2011, a green version of Leatherneck. So features some different parts use. But the majority of the previous version was still in there. Released in 2011 Mission Brazil box set for Joe-Con, featured his version 1 deco, and was the first modern era Leatherneck to homage that design, as I just said. And boom, there he is. A little bit better. And this one kind of like, I don't know, this was about the closest we got before we got the next version, which is actually my favorite version so far of Leatherneck, which will probably change when we get the classified version, and will kind of make me start talking about the classified version a bit more now, because the next version following this one, oh, I tell a lie, I've got more to talk about. Yeah, sorry. So before we get to the next version of Leatherneck, sorry, I should have said, Let's talk 2013 and Microforce. So Hasbro released a line of cute figure multi-packs called Microforce. Leatherneck got a figure in the line and featured his design and deco from his original figure, more or less. Each figure came with a circular figure stand, and they didn't deco his mustache. I know it's very close to his machine gun, so I get why it would have been difficult, but still makes me laugh. I really like Leatherneck. Isn't quite right for Nightclub Force. No, he's not Nightclub Force. Let's just say Night Force, but not Nightclub Force. He'd be too well. Hang on, who went to the club? Yeah, it was Leatherneck, Wetsuit, and Dial Tone went to the club in Joe's Night Out. So maybe he is Nightclub Force, guys. Maybe him, Dial Tone, and Wetsuit have to be introduced. Sorry, have I got that right? Wetsuit, Leatherneck, Dial Tone. Yeah, they were the three that went to Joe's Night Out on Joe's Night Out. Anyway, so yeah, he's in Nightclub Force as well. For those that don't understand what Nightclub Force is, it's a silly thing that we came up with a few episodes back because someone wanted Chuckles in Night Force and said, how cool would it be to have a black shirt with pink floral, neon pink floral. And I was like, yes, teal pants. No, I'm just kidding. It was pink and teal floral on a black shirt and I think black pants. But I think white pants would look really good on him on a Nightclub Force Chuckles. Anyway, enough of that. We got a Microforce Leatherneck. I loved this line, by the way. I got all of them. I loved all of them. And I wanted another series of these because I thought they were so adorable. These are the best minifigs since the micro figures that came with the G1 figure, the vintage figures. I love those original minifigures, and I love these Microforce. They're my all-time favorite minifigure loves. Disagree with me in the comments if you must, but that is my shout. They've never done better minifigs since. I'm saying that. I'm going for it. But the Jada ones are cute and everything, all right, but they're okay. But these Microforce were where it was at for the cutesy vibe. And I think they did some really fun characters. We had all the cancelled concept case, Arashikage clan, characters in there and zombie and all. It was brilliant. Single timbers and junkyards. And, oh, it's so good. So good. Anyway, can we get MNCF Chuckles now? MNCF. I'm lost. Monday Nightclub Force. Anyway, yeah, let's move on. Then we get Creo a year later, 2014. So we're still not into version 9, which is what I'm getting to. But in 2014, Hasbro released their 5th wave of blind bag Creo figures, including Leatherneck, based on his original figure design, came with a backpack, rifle, stand, and removable marine cover. And of course, the little kind of clip on the rifle too, I suppose it's supposed to be a grenade launcher. I think it is, isn't it? But mini Nightclub Force. Thank you, Rexship. I get it. Yes, so this is, again, another addition to the kind of minifig kind of team, and for the Creo figures, of course. And I thought they did really well with the deco on this one to get that intricate camo pattern all over the really small, awkward parts of the figure, and to get so much detail on the chest. Love it. Really love it. It's a really cute Creo. The Creo is more in scale than the 50th. Well, let's get to my favorite figure now, and that is Leatherneck version 9. Version 9 gave us, I think, our best modern era version of the character since his original figure. Released in 2014 for the 50th anniversary in a 3-pack with Destro version 29 and Hawk version 6, called the Eagle's Edge. And that's what I was referring to when I said there's another connection to the Eagle's Nest sort of vibe that we got in the UK file card. And I'm not saying that this has anything to do with that, but it does sound like the Eagle's Edge is sort of like a play on the Eagle's Nest kind of vibe, mission, sort of. Not the same mission, of course, but I'm not saying that Destro commits suicide and they breach the Eagle's Nest, but you know what I'm saying. I'm thinking that it was a kind of play on that. And I wonder if there was an homage there, if they'd looked at the Action Force card back and seen that. Or to be honest, it's probably more just coincidental. And the eagle's edge has nothing to do with the eagle's nest, which it probably doesn't at all. But again, I like to see these like strangled root connections and try and connect them anyway. Now, the thing about this leatherneck is it utilized the Roblox version 23 body with a brand new head sculpt that really captured the character, in my opinion. Now, the figure here, way more hench. He's like super hench, big dude. And to be honest, he is in the cartoon. He's a hench fella in the cartoon. He kind of, I know, like when he stands next to Wetsuit, they're about the same height or whatever. Or I think Leatherneck's a little bit taller than Wetsuit when they stand next to each other. But you see him next to Gung Ho, same size in the cartoon. Watch Let's Play Soldier. It's all the big lads in that, isn't it? It's Gung Ho, Leatherneck, Roadblock, and someone else. I always forget the someone else, don't I? Someone will tell me in the comments. But anyway, those they're all the big lads, and they all like look the same height, size, scale, what have you. So I like the fact that they made Leatherneck a hench fella in the line. So I'm going out on a limb here, and I'm saying I want them to do the same thing in the Classified series. I want to see hench Leatherneck, and again, the head sculpt on this figure is well good. I really like this one. Again, I think this was definitely the best modern era version of Leatherneck since his vintage figure. Out completely urinates on the 25th kind of mold, doesn't it? Like completely. So anyway, Leon wants him Outback scaled in Classified. You see, yeah, I know Outback is kind of like seen as being a kind of chunky lad, but as a survivalist, I would probably see him more lean, more kind of you know, not necessarily skinny at all, but definitely more lean and kind of on a smaller scale than like Leatherneck, who I'd expect to be kind of like a big burly explosive, juggernaut of a man, like Gung Ho, like Roadblock. But with Outback, I see Outback as more kind of an ever so, or maybe in between that kind of, obviously not dead skinny, obviously not super like hench, but kind of as they've done him. Honestly, I think Outback is perfect, and I think Leatherneck would be brilliant as a like similar body shape with Roadblock and Gung Ho, just hench fellas. What are other people saying? Yeah, I love the fact that Repeater's a hench dude as well. Honestly, I think that is a wicked figure. That is a brilliant modern 4-inch figure. If they don't use a new mold, use the Gung Ho torso would make total sense. That's what I think. They had the mold that's recycled from the movie Roadblock. Oh, right. Yeah. Totally. For this figure, yeah, the one we're looking at on screen at the moment. Yes. And Repeater. I love the fact they used that body on Repeater. I think Repeater's a brilliant figure. I think the Gung Ho Buck is just a bit too big, says Leon. Okay, fair enough. Big Boa's a good shout. Maybe he's probably more close to it. Yeah, possibly. Gung Ho, Leatherneck, and Sarge make Mainframe and Hollow Point feel a little inadequate. Hell no. Mainframe makes them feel inadequate with his incredible intelligence and hacking skills. Mainframe's dope. And Hollow Point, actually, I love the fact that Hollow Point's had almost a resurgence in the line ever since his Hollow Point typo by the club. I kind of love the fact they did that. Not that they made a typo. I love the fact that they brought that character out of the built to rule line, and kind of gave him another kind of breath of life in there. I really enjoyed that. I'd be okay with Leatherneck on a slaughterized body, not really Roadblock scale. I see what you're saying, Ed, on that one. I get that. I just feel like he needs to be hench, in my opinion. Hollow Point looks like the Joe's tractor driver. Hell yeah, and I love every second of it. So anyway, version 9, that is all of the versions so far that I could find. Have I missed any? Let me know in the comments as we're going along. Have I missed any Leatherneck versions? I usually do. Sometimes I do it on purpose just to get more interactivity. That was a joke. Anyway, yes, Leatherneck. Let's talk Classified Leatherneck quickly before the Super Bowl actually happens. Yes, so I'm thinking this is what I'm thinking for the most part with Leatherneck, right? His obviously is original deco. That, you know, the same as that kind of version 9 kind of figure, very much that vibe is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting head sculpt to be somewhere in the region of that modern era, that modern 4-inch figure. I think that is an absolutely spot on sort of kind of like you know, vibe. And then in terms of the loadout, backpack, rifle, you know, single carded figure, Bob's your uncle. I'm not, you know, maybe the pistol and the knife and all that kind of stuff, but do we need a lot of stuff for him? I know this modern version came with the kind of big machine, excuse me, the big machine gun, the ammo belt, and all that jazz. But I don't know if he needs that. Definitely, the secondary he's going to need, that vest secondary is going to be quite important, and of course the removable hat, the cover. So yeah, I think that is what I'm expecting. Nothing too crazy, nothing too like, you know, nothing too different on there that I think a lot of you guys are expecting. In terms of repaints, I think it's going to be the Mission Brazil 100%, and they'll do. I think they'll do like, maybe that'll be like a theme for a little while. Special Missions Brazil at some point when they change theme at Target, if they ever do. Maybe that'll be a good way to do it, or they'll just do it, you know, when they want to do it in a wave or what have you. But I'd love to see a Mission Brazil redeco. The only reason I've got the 25th one up there is because it, you know, it shows a modern version of that deco. But really, that's pretty much it. I think I don't really see anything else other than the removable cover, the backpack, the rifle, the knife, a pistol, and that's it. And that's it. I don't really need anything else with him. I think he'd be great with all that stuff. Oh yes, I have forgotten one. It's the Funko Pop Leatherneck. Thank you, Figure Six Pack. And you know what? It was on my tabs to use it and to put graphics to it and everything. How did I forget the Funko? I've got that Leatherneck Funko Pop, not near me, but I do have it. That is hilarious. Absolutely. I knew I'd forget one. So there you go. There's always one I'll forget. But yeah, the Funko Pop, Leatherneck Funko Pop is that is one that's the thing. I plan to put it in here. I thought I was finished. I'm never finished. Okay, so classified Leatherneck in general, Funko Pop. Let's add Funko Pop to the end of that. Let's just pretend I put it up there. Let's pretend we've seen it, and let's move on from it. Any idea when Classified Leatherneck is slated for release? Looks like 2025 at this rate. He should be cheap, as I think his arms, legs, torso will be reuse. Yeah, I think it'll be a bit of reuse. Obviously, the secondary, the head, they could probably might be able to reutilize Gung Ho's cover. That might work, or they'll just do a new one. There are two. You're right, Leon. There are two Funko Leathernecks because they did the Mission Brazil deco as well, didn't they? I missed two Leathernecks. That is a record, I think, for missing things on a video. Anyway, brilliant. I knew I was going to forget one, and in this case, two. So thank you for pointing that out, guys. If you want to look at Funko Leathernecks, you can search them after the fact, but you won't be seeing them on the screen, unfortunately. Not because I hate them. Well, I don't give 2/3 of a monkey's. I mean, I have them. That's the annoying thing. The mystery mini. You're right. It's a mystery mini as well, isn't it? So there's 3 Funkos. Damn it! I have the mystery minis as well. Anyway, Leathernecks had a lot of Funko love for some reason. So let's just say, should we just say that I purposely left it out because I hate Funko, which I don't. I'm not that fussed. But anyway, hilarious. Maybe I'll throw that in the comments, not the I suppose the comments of Facebook, comments of YouTube. I'll add that addition to the Twitter when I post it on Twitter. I'll just add, yeah, it is poor research. Unsubscribe. Amazing. Anyway, yeah, so Classified Leatherneck, I think we can all agree it's going to look very much like, you know, what we expect it to look like. It's going to come with what we expect. And yeah, I think it's going to be a banger. I'm excited for this one. That's pretty much it, though, guys. I've come to the end of this episode. Let's quickly kind of like phase out into the end. Yes, so we've had a good look at Leatherneck's history. I didn't get into the Funko Pops, which is annoying because I had it lined up and for some reason didn't add it. How silly. But yeah, there are a number of Funko Pops for Leatherneck. We've got Green, we've got Mission Brazil, and he came out in the Mystery Minis as well. Absolutely unreal. Anyway, have a great rest of the weekend. Enjoy Super Bowl number, was it 50 something? I don't know. We're in the 50s, aren't we? Have a great rest of your evening, no matter what you're doing. Of course, stay fresh cheese bags, as you all should. And remember, after 3, what you not to do. 1, 2, 3. Full force. Happy Sunday. That's it for this installment of the Full Force News Burst. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, Full Force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos, and as always you can keep up with the show after listening by following on X, formerly Twitter, @The Full Force, liking the Facebook page, facebook.com/The Full Force. We've also added a brand new Instagram, so check us out there as well, @The Full Force Podcast, and if you would like to contact the show you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback and questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click on the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.